When she was talking, she said, she mentioned Kelly. She was actually meant Scott.
I do that a lot.
Sorry.
Sometimes I think I'm the little brother.
It could be worse.
I thought I would share some stories. Scott, you did well. I'm losing it already. I thought I'd share some stories that impacted me. That the things that happened with my dad that had a lifelong impact on me. One of my earliest memories is growing up. We had a Volkswagen bus. We would travel. We actually went across the country multiple times in one or more Volkswagen buses. And when I was like 5, my dad would be working on the bus, changing oil, cleaning it up, and he would let me hang out with him, And his mission was to. He told me then that it had so little power, you had to keep it tuned up, but he was introducing me to sort of the mechanical world. Shortly around that time, or shortly after, he gave me a Navy manual on tools, and to this day, I'm fascinated by it. It was like, it was like a picture book, and it said, "This is a spanner wrench," and it introduced me to tools, and that was the beginning of something that's been a theme in my life, is just having the ability to work on all kinds of things. Also, at about that age, at the 5-year-old age, we did a lot of camping. And I think of this like the old, like Gomer Pyle. I was tiny, and we would hike for a while, and at times I know he was carrying me, and then we'd camp out somewhere, and I would wake up in the morning to the smell of trout frying in the frying pan. He'd get up, go catch the fish, prepare it, and have it cooking, and as we woke up, we had a nice breakfast. It was like, he always thought of himself as a country boy, and I saw that then, and it was true. Then we got the motorcycle shop, and I worked in the shop. First, working was me hanging out in the shop, and everybody teased me about, I think I was just black from head to toe, just from rolling around or doing something. I don't know what I was doing, but I got filthy. But later, I eventually became a mechanic, and at one point I was the shop manager. And but before that, I was doing work, fixing the bikes. And he came back and he talked to me one time. And I think this is classic Leon. I kind of came up next to him and he said, "Kelly, I want you to know your work is the best in 3 dimensions. But you have to imagine that there's a 4th dimension here, and that 4th dimension is time." When you factor them all together, it brings down the overall quality. And he would be happy to know that was true throughout my career. Never the fastest one, but so as a teenager, that motorcycle shop, he had been an engineer, and he had been able to work in this engineering world, and at the time some of them used like slide rules, but they started using programmable calculators. And when we got the motorcycle shop, he brought in first programmable calculator and then computers. Which is totally common today. It's everywhere, but at that time it was very unusual, very unique. And you know, he wanted us kids to be interested in this. And you know, you're a teenager, you know, you're computer, who cares about that, right? But he did a couple of things that pushed me or helped me get into that a little bit. And one of them was that he had, he found a magazine that had a program in it on making, that could help, the computer could make signs. And he asked me to literally type it in from the magazine. So I looked at the magazine, I typed every bit of this program into the computer. And then it worked. And we started printing out these little banners. And so there was some kind of connection there about you do something, you see it work, and you know, it's sort of empowering. But mainly, even then, the computer was more for games for me. And then, but I stumbled into Arkansas State, wandering around, trying to find my way to get to register, and I walked by a glass window that had whirling things behind it, and this guy walks out and says, "Are you interested in computers?" And I said, "I guess so." And he gave me a job, so so I started working there, and at that time, Leon went to Memphis State University and was a professor at Memphis State University. And he sent me an envelope, and the envelope had just some, it's hard to explain, but basically some computer graphics, things that he had printed out, and a very short message at the bottom that said, "Can you do this?" And suddenly I was challenged, you know. And I spent this job I had the night shift, so I was there all night long with all these computers, and I would spend all night working on these, trying to make graphics like you're showing me. And I think it must have been really crazy for the other people that worked there when they came in the morning, and they find the rooms, you know, paper on all the walls, you know, of all these experiments that I had been running. Anyway, that got me into it, and that helped me. That started me on a career that I just retired from yesterday, and I'm so grateful to have been eased into that, and it's been very helpful. You know, it's been a good life for me. Then later on, I don't know how this to introduce this, but he was fascinated with Peru, as Scott mentioned, and elsewhere. But he went to Peru many times, and we went to Peru together one time. I think this was about 15 years ago. I don't actually remember the date. I met him in Cusco in Peru, and he had been there a few days earlier than me. To acclimate. You have to acclimate it. It's at 9,000 feet, and he was not well at that point. He'd already been there for several days, and he still was not acclimated. And I tried to convince him at the time that I love being here. What I want to do is hang out with you, have a beer, watch people, you know. But he was determined to show me the sites that he knew so well, even though he was very ill at the time. And then we went on this strenuous trek, and this trek, they had brought a horse, which he didn't think he needed. But he ended up being on the horse the whole time. And when we got back from that trip, he actually came back from the trip earlier than he had planned. Is when we learned that he had leaky heart valves, and that's what, to me, that was the beginning of his health problems. And so that was a difficult time. But one of the things that happened, which I am possibly the most proud of, is that he was on a glide slope, and he knew it. And what I'm proud of is that he was a very positive role model. He was always in good spirits. He was always strong, even in situations that I thought for sure would break him. At one point, he lost control of his left arm, and he already had trouble hearing. He had trouble speaking. It was just, age was taking its toll on him. But he remained positive and wanted to do things. And as an example of that, this is before he lost control of his arm, I asked him, I said, you should come out and visit in Oregon. I really didn't think he would go for that, because I really thought already that would be a challenging trip for him. But he said, well, you know me. You tell me if I can do it. I said, okay, I'll take care of the travel arrangements. And so, anyway, a large group came out to Oregon, and then it was like, well, how do we, what do I show the people here? And one of the things was there's a jet boat ride. And again, I just thought, there's no way in the world he'll want to go on a jet boat ride. He was all in, and I think he had the best time. And I am so happy we had that experience, the whole family out there. And it was quite a memorable trip. And I hope there's some. So that was my, that's his legacy for me, is how positive he was even to the very end. I'm so fortunate I got to see him a week ago. And thank you all for coming.